call this August 14th regular session of the Oconee County Board of Education to order. First, we need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Burgess?
Second.
Mr. Ransom, all in favor? Passes 5-0. Next, we need a motion to approve the minutes from our July 17th regular session, July 24th. There's 2 millage hearings, also a July 31st millage hearing and July 31st special session, and then our August the 7th work session. We need a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Mr. Hammack?
Second.
Mr. Ransom, all in favor? Passes 5-0. Next, we have recognitions. Mr. Colquitt, welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Argo. Good evening, everyone. Our recognition tonight is the Oconee County Primary School Art Display, which is in the hallway right out here. And if you want to stop by and see gumball machines and llamas and landscapes and different still life collages, then this is the place to be. But Katie Bremenson is the advisor for this group, and these kindergartners and first graders did a great job with their art, as you can see.
Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda we have points of pride, and we have the Oconee County Primary School here with us. Welcome.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Branch. I'm Shelby Hilly, principal at Oconee County Primary School. I have some friends along with me tonight. We are so delighted to have another opportunity to give you a glimpse into what makes the primary such a special place. Last school year, we shared with you the foundation that we instill in each of our little chiefs. One of our arrows represents 21st century skills. It is our mindset that building a foundation in our students includes equipping them with a skill set that embraces critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and perseverance. Tonight, we'd like to spotlight how we do this through our after-school enrichment clubs. We offer enrichment clubs after school both in the fall and spring. This opportunity is something our second graders really look forward to. Each club covers topics of interest through a lens of fine arts, literacy, and STEM. I will now turn it over to a few of our enrichment club leaders. These teachers are dedicated to sharing their passions with our little chiefs. And our first could not be here tonight, so I'm going to step in for Mrs. McCarver. Oh, and I also just wanted to show you our front entrance again because we just think it's so cute. We're so proud of it. So speaking on behalf of Mrs. McCarver, who is the instructor of the marvelous musicians, second grade students get to experience singing in harmony and playing in percussion ensembles during rehearsals. What she is most proud of, though, is the community outreach of her musicians. Last year, they participated in the Watkinsville Christmas Parade for the first time to represent our school. Our musicians also outreach to assisted living homes in our area by performing a concert for the residents. After students perform their concert, they hand out cards to the residents and engage in conversations that are just precious to witness.
My name is Anna Gentry, and I, along with Maria Koch, host Garden Club after school for our second graders. In Garden Club, students will identify a problem in our outdoor spaces and garden area. They'll research how to make the space better through gardening and implement their research by planting, watering, and growing and learning to care for this garden. We like to say that we are teaching and growing the next generation in garden.
So I'm Katie Bremenson, and we have Watercolor Wonders, and what we get to do in Watercolor Wonders is the students learn how to manipulate watercolor paints to create beautiful works of art. Each week they add more layers and details to their paintings that they started in the previous session. Some sessions we get to go outside so that they can be in nature and observe landscape, and then they're so proud of the final pieces that they make.
In the spring, additional clubs such as Page Turners, GEMS, which is girls in engineering, math, and science, and PE Club will be offered. Our students will have yet another opportunity to spend their afternoons with our exceptional staff members. This is just one of the many reasons why Oconee Primary is a special place where each day is the best day ever. This concludes our presentation. We welcome any questions or comments from the board, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank
Fun
you.
stuff.
Okay, next we have presentations and discussions. First, we have business services. Mr. Dan Smith, we want to welcome you back to Oconee County.
Thank you, and as usual, I always get to follow something wonderful. Nothing brings the mood down from looking at student artwork like some finance talk, but we will push forward here. We have 8 items of information on the business services report tonight. The first one is our cash balance report. It's our standard report that we do for you each month. The second, we actually have 2 vendor reports. We catch up on June because in the closeout process, we accrued a lot of expenses back to June. So you'll have 2 reports in there. This is just the front page or the kind of the first page of the June, and then you'll also have one in there for July. So the last month of the previous fiscal year, and then the first month of this fiscal year. We have our first budget report of the 24 fiscal year. It's in 3 sections. So the first page there that you see up, this is our revenue section. And then the second page is the summary by function. And then a snapshot of the first page of the detailed report. This takes each of the functions and breaks it down into the individual objects as dictated by the Department of Education Chart of Accounts. We have our ELOS collection report for July, and just point out a couple of things here. We are, for the month of July, about 11.6% higher than last July, and our rolling average is about 16.2% over for the year above where we were this time last year. We have our 2 ELOS reports, ELOS 5, so I've broken this up on the slideshow. The first page here, it's actually one report, but the first page here shows the revenue for ELOS 5. The second page here shows you all of the projects. We have the 2 projects in yellow still in progress. And then we have the same format for ELOS 6. The first page is the revenue, and then the second page are the projects that are currently undergoing. And we finally have our federal funds report. Not a lot of activity as far as the revenue goes. We close out July, and then we'll start doing the cash draws for those federal grants. So as most of our reports are formatted, the first page here is the revenue, and then the second page will be the expenditures for that. Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is public communication. Do we have anyone signed up?
Yes, ma'am, we have 3 signed up. And before I call the first up, I'll read this. The board allows 3 minutes for those who sign up at the meeting. You must be a current resident of Oconee County to address the board. Please state your name, address, and topic. The board requests that you refrain from making any disparaging remarks about school system personnel. Generally, there will be no response to comments or questions posed by citizens at the meeting. All comments and questions will be received and taken under advisement by the board. However, any member of the board shall be free to respond and make public comments if he or she elects to do so. Our first speaker is Pamela Hendricks.
Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Pamela Hendricks. I live at 1151 Thornwood Drive, Watkinsville, Georgia, and I'm here as a concerned taxpayer. I'm here to ask the board to consider creating a financial oversight committee. It has recently come to my attention that many colleges and universities use this approach. And I would argue that we have 8,500 students and we have an annual budget in excess of about 106 million. That is larger than a lot of colleges and universities. And it would give some oversight and some ability, more ability for the public to be involved. I just want to go over a few of the concerns that we have. The original budget this year that was proposed, first of all, I just want to make a comment that Lee Becker had kind of studied the hearings, and according to him, the board spent 28 minutes in public meetings this year discussing the budget. I feel like that is not enough for a $106 million budget, and there also needs to be some citizen input. The original budget this year was going to reduce the fund budget, and let me say that's a source of contention because our school board is holding $34.8 million in a fund budget. Some of those 28 minutes the board spent discussing the budget were complimenting the CFO of how she had been clever to divide that fund budget up into 3 different categories: committed, assigned, and unassigned. Then the original budget reduced the fund budget by $2 million. Then property values went up more than expected. You lowered the millage rate, and you really ended up increasing the fund balance by $2 million. That's a $4 million increase. The new Board of Education building has kind of doubled in price from originally about $7.5 million, now about $15 million. You give a 1-page summary of a budget, and in that budget there's no debt service mentioned. The millage rate was published as 15 mil before you had the last public meeting. So that tells us that it didn't matter if we came here and were frustrated and asked you to lower the millage. You weren't going to do it, it had already been published. I wanted to make this point. This is unbelievable. The budget went from $91 million in revenue in the previous year to $106 million revenue this year. That's a $15 million increase in 1 year. I just divided that by 8,500 students, and that's $1,764 a student. I'm just going like, I just don't feel like you're being careful with our money. The other thing that the reason is that there's also ELOST that we really don't know that much about. But please consider forming a financial oversight committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Ian Taylor.
Welcome.
Hi. Good to see you all again. Kind of building on what Pam said there, I've been looking for the last couple of months, I've been looking for a detailed line item budget. You must already send me Mr. Colquitt, who gave me back when I did an open records request, came back with no responsive record when I asked him to clarify that, said the record's currently in process. When last minutes of the last meeting, or in the last board meeting, I was told the budget was in the minutes of the meeting. I keep on going back, and what I'm getting is this 2-page budget that we're seeing. To me, that's not a detailed line item budget. Georgia Law, Title 20-2-167.1, subsection D says, and I'll quote this, D, upon request, each governing body shall provide to any person an electronic copy of the line item detailed adopted annual operating budget in a format suitable for analysis at no cost within 3 business days of such request, and the summary of the budget required by subsection C of this code shall give notice of such right. I went online. I can get detailed line item budgets for Walton County, for Barrow County, for Gwinnett County, for any other county that I've looked at. The only one that I did find was Little Ben Hill County down in South Georgia. They published a budget kind of close to what a county does, but they did have at the bottom there that the number of a person that I could call to get the detailed line item budget, and when I called her, she was quite happy to send it up to me. I went back and looked. Each year you need to submit your budget to the Carl Vinson Institute, and you guys have been doing that. I will say, just as an aside, the last 2 years' budgets that you've submitted to Carl Vinson are incorrect. They're not the ones that you adopted. The millage rates are incorrect, but that's an aside. Anyway, the research at Carl Vinson Institute shows that Oconee did, in the past, publish closer to a detailed line item budget. This is an 8-page budget. It's got a little bit more information on it. That was in 2011 was the last time they did. 2012 and onwards, you know, we had going to publish these 2-page budgets on there. I don't know what happened in 2012, what board decision made, you know, what decision was made then to change it, but really, going back to what Pam says, we're just spending a lot of money. You know, $106 million, it's $290,000 a day of taxpayer money we're spending. Some of us do like to see where that money is going. I know that a detailed budget must exist because last time Mr. Hammock got a presentation about what the medical expenses were going to be. From that 2-page budget, there's no way we can find out what that's going to be. We don't know what the transportation costs are going to be, what the diesel costs are going to be, what the utilities are going to be. Some of us are just interested in it, and I'd really like you to consider publishing a detailed line item budget in accordance with the law and tell me how to get it, you can get it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Chris Herring.
Welcome.
Hi. I live at 1291 Day in the room, 1982 Oconee County High School graduate, so I lived through a different time. I'm going to ditto a little bit of what Pam and Ian said, but in a different way. So I looked at CPI and student growth for the last 5 years. CPI, if you take 2018 as a stake in the ground and compare to that 5 years ago, the CPI has gone up by 20%, so it's 1.2 if 2018 was 1. The county budget, by the way, that was just passed is 1.22, so they're very close to what CPI says it should be, which is good. If you look at student growth, so student growth has been about 2.2% cumulative year over year, 12% actual from 18 to 2023 based on the numbers you guys have that I found. 2.2% cumulative. So when you apply both of those things, student growth and CPI, which you have to do, the budget this year should be about 1.33 compared to 2018. It's not that. It's 1.46, so over 10% difference. If you look at each year in and of itself, we kind of bounced around within a 2 to 3% of what it should have been based on CPI and student growth. And then this year, it's like someone just opened the spigots. Seriously. And I think that a lot of folks, especially like myself, kind of just go, yeah, that's all right, that sounds okay, it doesn't change too much. But I write one check a year. Mine isn't hidden in the PMI, you know, monthly payment. And anybody that's on a fixed income or writes the one check a year, it's getting to where it's like raising eyebrows is where it's at. So I just wanted to comment on that. I'd like to see a balance sheet and ELOS, anything that's related to construction spending. So I'm an engineer by background, and I don't hold to the argument that once you've started something, well, you gotta finish it. You've already started it. No. There needs to be accountability. If things are doubled or 50% in price, somebody's got to be held accountable somewhere. So with that in mind, I'd like to also see how is the board appraising our superintendent each year? It's a mystery to me. Nothing personal, Dr. Branch. I'm a doctor, by the way, as well, PhD in engineering. So I'd like to see kind of how you're assessed, how the board's doing that. Finally, you've already heard about the line item budget. There's also an Open Records Act in the state of Georgia, and that says that the detailed agenda shall be available within 2 weeks of the meeting, is what it says. So I'd like to see a detailed agenda. What's on the website? There's nothing there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Argo, there are no more speakers lined up for tonight.
Okay, thank you. Next on our agenda are action items. Dr. Branch.
Yes, ma'am. If it pleases the board, they're all field trips and they've been presented, so we recommend approval of A through E as presented.
That's good. Thank you. We need a motion to do so.
So moved.
Mr. Ransom?
Second.
Mr. Hammack? All in favor? Passes 5-0. We do have a need to go into executive session. We need a motion to do so.
I will make a motion that the board will adjourn to executive session to discuss or deliberate upon personnel matters as described on the affidavit to be attached to the minutes.
Ms. Parrish? We need a second.
Second.
Mr. Hammack, all in favor? Passes 5-0.
Take a few minutes, clear the room, board members, and we'll come back for executive session.